Hey, Nikki.
Hey, Salina.
And hey, y'all, and welcome to Sweet Tea and TV. I feel like a newscaster who's like giving good news, and then they're like, and on the other side of town, you know?
And underneath the bridge.
Right. Someone died. But also, the Little River Band's in town this weekend. Ooh,
Catch him at the Civic Center.
I really pulled that reference out.
It was a strange one. We talked about Cake, the band, earlier today, and you pulled out the Little River Band.
Older than Cake.
It's just like, oh, yeah.
My parents' era.
It's just a weird thing to choose. We talked about
All that to
Cake,
say.
Incubus.
Yeah. Hey, I have a wide variety of musical appreciation.
You do
Be
that.
careful about saying taste. So, anyways, I don't know if you know this or not. We've been covering Designing Women for 4 years now.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah. So my thought here was that this is kind of a bittersweet moment. It's like a reflective moment because we're saying goodbye to Designing Women. It's been a big part of our lives for, well, as long as I can remember. But well, that sounds like that. But I mean, I've watched Designing Women like my whole life. So, but certainly since we began this podcast, you know, for whatever it's worth, we chose this show in honor of our moms who, funnily enough, don't listen. But hey, that's why God invented therapy. So, and I've got great news, Nikki. They're not going to listen, so we can say whatever we want. Whatever. Anyways, I digress. Last week, we wrapped our final character episode for season 7. And so today we officially say goodbye to these ladies and one remarkable Anthony, who have meant so very much to us. And we'll talk about our favorites today. We're going to talk about our best from across the season. That's bests, B-E-S-T-S. But first, well, you know, I'm not the only one to bring up bests on the show.
It's a Mary Jo runner.
I know. References. But first, Nikki, since I know you like to end the season with math, and given I don't want to rob you of that, I have pulled some by the numbers just for you.
Ooh, just
Would
for
you
me.
like to hear those?
Yes. Wait, do they include me doing math?
No.
You've already done
I've already done the math.
Thank you.
But I did the math, so. I'm going to be honest with you. Some of these are not good or thoughtful.
Buckle up, folks.
I
It's
was
going to
just
be a
about to
bumpy
say
ride.
it. That's right. She's mathing. So we have watched 7 seasons and 163 episodes of Designing Women. Several of those multiple times. That means that we have watched these episodes over the last 4 years, somewhere in the range of 600 or so episodes altogether. And this podcast has now existed for 4 years, or if you like, 48 months or 1,460 days. And I believe that this is our 253rd episode. I don't want to calculate the number of hours that is for fear that Nikki might pass out. Roughly half of these 253 episodes are strictly about Designing Women, and the other half are primarily inspired by Designing Women. We have posted some 600 plus times on social media and have more than 40,000 followers, which is sad by the standard for the other Salina, Gomez, but it's great for this Salina. We also have 97 YouTube subscribers, which is both terrible and surprising because honestly, I forget we have it. Sorry, y'all. Full-time jobs make things hard. The document where Nikki and I keep our blog posts is over 300 pages, so I do believe we have a book on our hands.
Oh my
You
gosh,
know.
I didn't know that.
That's right. So, Penguin Random House, HarperCollins, we're here. So that's it. Did you like it?
Oh man, I can't decide if those numbers are happy, sad, boring, probably all of the above.
Well, I think at least one of those is a compliment.
The YouTube one makes me laugh. Thank you, YouTubers. Aw, that's nice. Thanks, Salina.
Well,
You had to do a lot of calculation for that.
You love numbers. I wanted to do that for
do.
you.
I do.
You know?
That's a crazy amount of designing women.
It's a lot.
I would argue it's possible at this point we've seen the episodes more than our moms have, and they were the OG fans.
That's right. I feel very confident in that for sure.
Going back to my old season notes, there were episodes I had forgotten about, probably, for good reason. You sort of tuck them in the back of your brain. Some of the ones I was like, oh no, that one. But then there were also some I had forgotten that were really good. So
I think that that's a perfect segue to start talking about our all-time favorite episodes. Thank you so much, Nikki. Thank you for really just queuing that up.
you're welcome.
Beautiful. And we can talk about up to 5.
Okay.
How many do you have? 17? Oh, okay.
When I first put the list together, I went season by season and pulled out the ones that I remembered being real standouts for me. And I ended up with 9. And then I realized it was up to 5. So I scaled back.
Isn't it fun? I was wondering what like our criteria would be,
Yeah.
And I figured we would probably both take different approaches.
Mine was super scientific. I looked through the list, and I also looked back at some of my old finale show notes where we put I put all my ratings. I listed them out so that I could do my averages and everything. And so I pulled ones that rated really highly for me.
Okay. Well, that was
Super scientific.
I mean, for something we're not getting paid for, yes. I think that was very thoughtful. That's what I'm trying to say to you. So I would say for me, this is like a little bit of a tough exercise because on any given day, I think my list would change.
Yeah, for sure.
With a couple that would never change, and I'm happy to flag those as we go through. But do you want to start us off with your top 5?
Yeah, sure.
or
You mean
we
just
can
go through
volley
all
back
5
and-
of them?
I don't know. Let's see how it goes. I'm curious how much crossover we are going to have or not. So
Yeah. So the first one I had was season 1, episode 2, the beauty contest, which we called Hot Dogs in a Pageant. So on a personal note, this one's always going to be tough for me because it falls in that realm where we were really trying to get our feet under us and the technology was always failing us. I
don't know what you mean.
I remember editing this episode and just being reduced to tears because the audio was so bad and it was such a struggle to do. So personally, that's how I'm probably always going to remember like the back half of it. But the front half, show wise, this is a top notch classic. And I think that it's like unanimous among fans. It showed up in the Lifetime reunion clips. I think it maybe even showed up in that one, like their finest hour compilation episode that was in season 3 or whatever. So it's just everywhere. I mean, obviously, this is the first time we get a sense for how complex Suzanne is because in the pilot, she's very a little bit flat, former beauty queen. She's very whatever, but she's complex. And we see that as she struggles with aging. And then obviously Julia's The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia tirade against Marjorie Lee is classic. So that's one of my top 5s.
I almost feel ridiculous for not having that on my list.
Oh, you don't? I assumed you would have had it on your list.
I don't.
They would change. I think you're right. The list would change week to week and day to day.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but I mean, even anecdotally, if you're on our social media and you see the reaction to Julia's go off, her, and the way that she protected Suzanne, I mean, I think that is it is just a hands down favorite. There are other ones that come close, but close is still like a mile away, I think. And we said it before, I'll say it again. The fact that occurred in the second episode is amazing.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe let's go ahead and volley back and forth. I was going to go so you're going to go like up through the seasons.
I think so.
Okay.
I don't have to. I can bounce around. I can be flexible.
Oh, me too.
I can be bendy.
I have one from season 2 as well.
Okay.
And mine is episode 4, Killing All the Right People. This is going to be the only serious one on the list for me.
Oh, that surprises me. I have one more that I thought would make your list.
Okay. So I will tell you that my criteria was what's the most rewatchable. And for me, the ones that are really important, sometimes they're just a little serious, and I don't know, it's ones that I could I think they're super important. I'm so glad that they happen, but I'm not sure I could just watch them over and over and over again, and I had to have something to narrow me down because picking 5 of these was very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
But for Killing All the Right People, this is the one where the ladies plan a funeral for a fellow designer who is dying of AIDS. First, this was so singular. It was ahead of the curve for its time. It's one of the first TV shows to talk about HIV. It tackled myths, biases, stigmatizing rhetoric of the time, and head on. It was also beautifully heart wrenching. LBT wrote the character of Kendall, played by Tony Goldwyn, that you just like immediately fell in love with him. He's so charismatic. He's young. He's dying. He's planning his own funeral. His own parents won't attend. It just rips my heart out every single time. This is also a great example of making a B plot work, and it being thoughtful and complementing that main plot line. We have Mary Jo fighting for contraception in the schools, and her speech at the end, which will never make me not cry. And I feel like stands in such contrast to this season when they brought that plot point back in season 7, and it just was not the same. The episode lets you laugh enough to get through it, and we get to see Julia go off, and this is a well-earned one, even though I didn't entirely agree with her argument. I remember we had some conversation about that at the time, but at the end of the day, kicking that woman out was the exact right thing to do. And then on top of everything, when you know the backstory that inspired LBT to write this one, for me, it only makes it appreciated that much more. So that's mine.
I have 2, I think, from season 2. Season 2, episode 10, Stranded, which we called Things Get Screwy on the Way to St. Louis. Mm-hmm. So this was our first experience with Anthony and Suzanne together. They were staying in a small motel in Tennessee. They were trying to drive to St. Louis for her to judge a beauty pageant because while the other ladies were going to a design expo in St. Louis. St. Louis.
I like it.
St. Louis. So when they finally catch up to the other ladies in St. Louis, the other ladies are sick. And so that's where they've been this whole episode while Anthony and Suzanne have been hunkered down in this motel. And I think that when we watched that episode, I remember being so charmed by this chemistry that they had. And I feel like we talked about it either during that episode or maybe at another point, but you dropped the knowledge that LBT had shared at some point that if the show had gone on, Suzanne and Anthony probably would have ended up together. I'm not sure I had a full appreciation for that until I saw Delta Burke and Meshack Taylor engaging with one another during the reunion, which I know we'll talk about in our Extra Sugar this week. And sorry, spoilsies. But I think that episode was already so charming so early in our journey with this crew. And then it added this extra layer as I think back with all the things we've learned about them, all the things we've seen over the years. I see it so early, and you see the seeds of that planted. And I will never get over that final little bit of that episode where they show up in the hotel room where all the other women have been staying, and Suzanne's running late to her pageant. She needs help with her hair. She needs help with her pantyhose, and Anthony is there every step of the way to help her. And the other women are like, what the heck happened in Memphis or Nashville or wherever they were? Like, what were they doing in Tennessee? And I think that is such an excellent way to capture that special relationship those two characters had.
Totally. Maybe we're not going to overlap.
I don't think
this will be crazy. Okay, so my next one was, you're not going to be surprised by this, and I expect that you expect this to be on my list. Speaking of,
wait, let me guess.
Speaking of Mary Jo references, it's the biggest reference of all. So this is
reference.
That's right. This is season 3, episode 5, Big Hoss and Little Falsey. So the one where Mary Jo inherits $3,000 from an eccentric uncle who stipulates she must spend it on something frivolous, so she considers getting breast implants. And I got 2 words for you. Annie Potts. I got 3 words for you. Annie freaking Potts. This is an episode that was truly worth the caliber of comedian that she is. It gave her a great script, and really something to work with. And, her arrogance grows right along with her bus line.
Mhm.
And I loved every minute. And again, thinking about in contrast to the season that we just wrapped up, what didn't work about Mary Jo's character then, this really worked for me this time.
Mhm.
And again, I think it might just be who is at the helm
Mm.
of the script and the writer and the people who really intimately know that character so well and can capture the nuance. And as a card carrying member of the itty bitty you know what committee, it was a joy, my life's joy maybe, to see her reenact plopping her breasts on the counter at the bank. I will do that someday. Not at the bank. It's 2025. I'll do it somewhere. And I think I want you to be there just really watch you just melt into the ground,
I would squirm so bad.
I know you would. And so, another really great part that I'll never forget, and it kind of made me think about this is, we've been going along and we've talked about it some, but it feels like a good place to bring this back again is the face work of the cast is always so good. So whether it's Stranded, like you're talking about with all the women reacting, or in this case, it's Anthony walking in while Charlene is filling Mary Jo up because she's insisting that she fill these things. I mean, just the timing is like A plus plus plus, and then of course her asking Julia, who would provide zero distraction with her breasts, to take them on a test drive at a bar after work. I feel like I've gotten this offer at some point in my life. Hey, you're no distraction. Get over here.
I came across that one again, looking through old ones, and I was like, this will be on Salina's list 100%. I was going to be disappointed if it wasn't on your list.
I mean, it would be crazy if it wasn't. It also, I didn't actually have this here in my notes, but as you'll recall, my excitement about getting to cover the history of the bra,
I do recall.
it was fascinating.
It was?
That was a fascinating lady. She had a lot going on.
She did.
What's your next one?
Season 2, episode 20, How Great Thou Art, which we called A Smidgen of Religion. So this is the one where we found Charlene really questioning her church, and then more specifically her minister's take on women in the ministry. And then sort of in the background, Julia's been chosen to sing How Great Thou Art at the Baptist convention, which is one of the most beautiful moments in the entire series. It's just a gorgeous song, and watching it play out was really beautiful. But so I think it was a relatively heavy episode with a lot to kind of chew on and think about. It was also, though, Bernice's most shining moment, I think, almost in the whole series. Okay, so let me preface that to say, or clarify to say, Bernice was hilarious. Bernice was always shiny and wonderful. But like that moment where she goes toe to toe with the minister on scripture and is so perfectly cogent and coherent and on it was validating, and it was encouraging, and it was also a little bit funny in this otherwise very heavy, serious episode. And when I looked back at notes, that came back to me so strongly that we talked a lot about religion throughout that episode and kind of piecing all of those things apart. And it was a fun episode to record. It was also a fun episode to watch. I think you make a good point about like rewatchability. That part where Bernice talks to the minister, I think, is incredibly rewatchable. It's one of those things, if you see it on social media, you're going to hang in long enough to watch that little bit.
Totally.
So I thought that was a brilliant episode and definitely worthy of top 5.
Yeah, so I think it's also worth mentioning that this is probably second in most popular on social media to The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia. So
I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, and we still get play on that like on a regular basis.
I'm sure. It's brilliant.
It's an absolutely beautiful episode. Yeah. It's a wonderful pick. And I also don't have that one on my list.
I thought that one's the one that would be on your list.
This is what I'm saying. It was so tough. This was like the hardest exercise. So that's why I was saying like up to 5. I couldn't imagine just one of us coming in with like 2. I just did 2,
It would be me that did that though. Oh,
I
we
just
were
didn't
supposed
want
to
to
do 5. I picked 1.
you say that, or you would have come in with like 12.
Right.
So my next one is I'm wondering if maybe this is where we're finally going to hit some overlap. Not sure, but it's the Sanity hearing, which is in season 4, episode 7. Is this overlap?
It is not.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is the one where Bernice's niece tries to have her declared incompetent in order to get her possessions. It's maybe the pinnacle of designing women for me because it's an episode that allows the cast and the entire cast to really cook. Everybody has something to do and does it well. We don't fiddle around with some silly B plot or one that distracts us from the A plot or one to your point that you made before. Like if we tried to go back and remember what went with what, could we even do it? You know? And so like I'll just call out a few things that were so good that I still think about like on a regular basis, like maybe once a week. It's totally normal, by the way. Mary Jo's description of Suzanne's international rich bitch alimony tour, which led to one of my favorite sidebars to put together ever. I think about Urbats a lot. Mary Jo with her legs in the air, juggling invisible underwear on the table outside of the judge's chamber is it is just tops. There's no explanation for it. This also, and I think maybe this is why I feel so much something for Mary Jo is because, Nikki, I think you know me well enough to know that this exact situation would happen to me.
It would.
You know,
Yes.
it naturally, the judge
You
walks
have
in.
a natural inclination to find yourself in unusual circumstances, compromising positions
Yeah, it just happens.
by authority figures.
No one else could it be. You know what I'm saying? So when the judge walks in, I'm like,
Yep. Tracks.
been there.
Tuesday.
Yep, that just happened to me. Thank you so much. We get that iconic Julia quote about crazy people. You just went through this in a recent Extra Sugar, but it's so good. I'm going to say it one more time. One more time for the people in the back. I'm saying this is the South, and we're proud of our crazy people. We don't hide them up in the attic. We bring them right down to the living room and show them off. See, Phyllis, no one in the South ever asks you if you have crazy people in your family. They just ask what side they're on. And just so you know, Nikki and I both would respond. If someone asked us which side, we would say both.
Certainly.
Suzanne's rant about someone on her trip who was topless the whole time. If the sun came out, that top came off. If the sun went in, that top came off. If the moon came up, that top came off. It's good stuff, you know? We're also getting like brazen Suzanne, you know?
Right.
She's in there with her sunglasses. She's sunburnt. She's tired. She's pissed off, you know? It's all of us when we come back from vacation.
I was going to say, I have been in that precise situation before, so I can relate with that one personally.
Care to share?
I went to California with my parents one time, and all I wanted to do was be on the beach in California. It just feels like a thing you do. What I didn't realize was that the ocean was super duper cold, and also that, I don't know, the beach in California is not like the beach in Florida. Like it wasn't hot. It wasn't super sunny. So I didn't put on any sunscreen because it was super cloudy, and they left me out. Like they went and did some sort of sightseeing or something. I was like, just leave me here with my book. I'll hang out. I'll be fine. It's nice out here. I got incredibly sunburned, lobstery sunburned. This is when I always tell my children, when I say when we're on vacation, you can get sunburned when it's cloudy. Don't let the clouds trick you. It's because of that trip. So the next day I had to fly back to Atlanta by myself. So I had to walk up to the front desk and tell the lady how badly sunburned I was and request a row to myself because I was so badly sunburned. And she was like, oh my gosh, of course, we'll get you in a row by yourself. She put me in a row by myself, 2 seats. So I sat in the one in the aisle so that I had room to put my laptop and watch things. Some woman came over and was like, is anybody sitting in that chair? And because I am who I am, I was like, they are not. So she squeezed in there and broke my headphones.
Oh, no.
And then she rubbed my arm accidentally, like multiple times throughout the flight. That was sunburned.
Do you know what the lesson is?
You can get sunburned when it's cloudy outside.
I was going to say you should have kept your top on.
I can't do all the things, Salina.
What do you
I was
want
on
from me?
vacation.
I didn't want a tan line.
I was on vacation. So yes, I can identify.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely thought you meant the other piece of that. And I was like, who had their top off? Jeez. Damn it, Mom. Keep your top on.
Stop it.
So, and then finally, of course, the big reveal that Bernice isn't crazy. All the sugar baker ladies are. That's just icing on the cake, no?
Perfect.
What's your next one?
It's a season 6 episode. Season 6, episode 19. I enjoy being a girl.
Really?
Really?
Oh, how exciting.
I stole straight from my season 6 notes to summarize why I love this episode, because I also included this in our summary of favorite episodes that season. I think the high points are I'm at a chapter in my life where this particular episode really hits home for me.
Sure.
There's a Girl Scout tie. It's very Barbie-esque, pushing back against the idea that all things pink and all things feminine are bad and patriarchy and whatever. It was, all things girlhood, raising a little girl are resonating with me right now. So this episode continues to resonate. I also love when Mary Jo and Julia are talking and Mary Jo says, I mean, I personally still like a twirly dress every now and then myself. It's just, I don't want to twirl just because I'm a girl and that's what I'm supposed to do. I want the choice to twirl and the right not to. And, like on the face of it, it's about a skirt. But I think at this moment in time where we are, it's about so much more than a skirt. We just want choices.
A skirt is never just a skirt. You know what I'm saying?
Never just a skirt. We had that funny experience with the Carlene being the troop leader. I got to do my whole extra sugar on Girl Scouts, which was really fun. Bernice had some really great, I'm sorry, not Bernice, Allison had some really great moments in that episode. She had been kind of she's just a difficult, prickly character through the whole season. We're sort of wondering what it's leading to. And she had like this very profound thing that she said where she says, you see, this is where I think you feminists are so screwed up. Instead of trying to be as good as men, you should try to be as good as women, which is so profound and wonderful. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, girlhood. So there was just so much about that episode that felt a little bit like old school Designing Women.
Yeah.
And it resonated with me, and I would 1,000% rewatch that episode using your criteria.
Love it. Well, I think that I'm going to go ahead and do my season 6 one too, because I just felt like this season needed some love.
Yeah.
It gets so much hate, and I legitimately love this episode. And this is Carlene's apartment. And this is episode 16.
Good choice.
This is the one where, as the name suggests, it's where Carlene moves into a new apartment, her big girl apartment. She invites everyone to, I want to say, the housewarming party from hell.
Or heaven, depending on which side of it you're on.
Well, if we're on this side, it was heavenly for me.
Glorious.
Yes. Several fans of the show have also piped in about this love, or about their love for this one. Mm-hmm. Even people who are big season 6 naysayers. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's the pacing that really worked. It's another one similar to the Sanity hearing that really lets every character cook. Perhaps Bernice and Carlene the most. Bernice is shwasted. And when she shows up, gets pretty aggressive with everyone, and especially Julia. Obviously, I love that she went to a strip club by herself.
She just had to know. She had to know what it was all about.
She had to know, and she got that $9 Mai Tai, and I appreciated that. Carlene is also trying so hard, bless her heart. She really is. And it's just the exact disaster you want to see in a sitcom. Folding chairs, blow up beds, and blow up dolls included. Which, if I had had my druthers at the time, would have been the name of that episode. But we get funny dialogue. It's one zinger after the next. And it brings that whole cast together in a way that I'm not sure the newer seasons always could do. And it's just a series high for me.
Series high.
Series high.
I guess that's what we're doing here.
That's what we're doing here.
I'm going to act surprised, though.
I like it. That's fine. What?
My last one is a season 7 episode. Kind of like the that just registered on her face. I think I also wanted to show this season some love. And I wanted to be a little encompassing, but also Viva Las Vegas and Fools Rush In. So this was episode 6 and 7 in season 7. Those were favorite episodes for me. Again, they're like a series high, Salina. I don't want to blow your socks off too much.
With this category.
With this category. I think everyone had some funny bits throughout these 2 episodes, which I really just consider one. They feel like a two-parter if they're not. Bernice and Anthony were particularly funny in this one. But also Mary Jo had this new gambling addiction, which was this continuation of her storyline of just not being able to control herself, which I thought was continuously funny. And then this is the biggest plot we get for Anthony almost the whole season, that he gets married to Etienne and he spends the rest of season 7 sort of sorting that out. I mean, he goes to college during this series and he kind of becomes a partner, but this is the first one that's really like his that we dig into for multiple episodes. And I have so much love for Anthony that I really loved having this for him. So I would put these on my top 5 list.
I love that. You're right. Season 7 deserves some love. I can't do it.
But I did.
I'm so glad that you did.
Thank you.
Now y'all know who the nice one is.
Yes, it's me.
So my last one.
I have a justice thing. I want everything to be fair, so I didn't want to leave season 7 out.
Totally. I appreciate it. So my last one is from season 5, episode 19, Blame It on New Orleans.
Oh, I knew that was going to be on your list.
Yeah, so this is the one where they go to New Orleans for the business trip. We've got Charlene and Suzanne living it up on Bourbon Street. Mary Jo has unknowingly slept with a married man. Julia has an epic meltdown, and Suzanne goes head to head with the drag queen. It's just like girl trip vibes the whole time, especially when it comes to the dynamics around sharing a hotel and that difference between the good girls who stay in and the bad girls who go out. So it's not really fair to call them good or bad girls, but you know what I mean.
What you mean.
I'm painting a picture. I have been both of those girls. So
you're allowed to say it. Depends
on which time period in life you caught me in.
And what city you're in. Bourbon Street brings a different Salina out.
That's, it didn't, but I'm in my late 30s. So I was like, oh, it's late and I'm tired. You guys want some Crystal?
Yes. The answer is yes.
The answer is yes. But what I really liked about all that is like, we talk a lot about the, so many of the references are dated and a girl's trip is timeless. And somehow they captured that so well. The shoulder pads are bigger. The hair is bigger. Maybe. And not for me, but for most people.
Not for me either. Oh, maybe it is. It's in New Orleans, certainly.
Well, it's
all the humidity.
Well, humid there. Not in Georgia. In Georgia, it's perfect.
It's perfect all the time.
I really love their presentation. It's so delightful. Julia is stuck with a room full of horny podiatrists. Suzanne pursues the old hair of the dog, teaching us the lessons. And Charlene just passes out on the podium. You can't ask for more. You know what I'm saying? I kind of wish that would happen in our job. And Suzanne ripping off her wig to try and prove this drag queen was actually a woman. Gosh darn it, that was just everything.
That excellent choice. Common threads. We love the travel episodes.
Yeah.
And neither one of us enjoy the fever dream episodes.
Yes. That's just, did you think that the World War II Cantina one was going to show up?
I came across it in my notes and I was like, I would flat out fall on the floor if Salina put this on her list because of all the heat we gave those episodes.
I can't even look at it without getting angry. God bless it. And it makes me feel bad because I know that I'm sure that was a lot of fun to make, but it was not for this gal.
Much. No.
So how do you feel about an activity that I pre-warned you about?
But I still don't know what it is.
That's true. So here's the thing. On September 2nd, 2003, I learned this in some of my research, Sony Pictures released The Best of Designing Women. And this is so 2003. This was a single disc DVD featuring 5 episodes from the first 4 seasons. I do have those on deck if we need to talk about them, but I thought we could think about the 2 lists that we just shared and we'll draft our top 5 for our special release DVD for 2025. No, a DVD will not happen. But you get where I'm going with this, right?
I do.
Now, my question is does this sound interesting or does this sound like we're going to have to fight club out in the parking lot?
Because I also stumbled across my notes from the time we tried to do a bracket tournament of our favorite episodes.
I know.
And I was like, oh no. I think we'll be good, Salina. I'm in a good headspace today.
Well, I had another idea too. We could either do both of these things or we could do neither. Look. So we could just do one. The options are 4. So here's what I was thinking. We could each put our top 5 up on social media and see who wins in a poll situation in stories. And we can make it interesting with stakes, STAKES. Whoever wins pays for the other's season 7 celebratory doodle pie outing. You guys, we're going doodle pie. That's how we celebrate the end of the season with pie.
Like an expensive thing for me to have to do.
Why do you think you're going to lose?
Because you put the New Orleans one on your list, and I included season 7. So
we can drop the stakes. We could do bragging rights.
I think we can do both. I think we can do both. We can do the social media thing, and we can talk about our top 5. Okay. Because I think you listed some that if I hadn't thought you were going to put them on your list, they probably would have made mine.
Okay. So can I go ahead and start us off and just say that I feel like on this list, we just have to have the pageant episode.
I agree with that.
Okay. So we're going to do, I'm just going to say pageant episode because I can't think.
The beauty contest.
Thank you.
And then I will say we have to put Mary Jo's breast implant one on there.
Okay. Big Hoss, Little
Hoss,
Fossey.
Little Fossey.
Together, we will remember these names.
Yes.
We also have them in our notes, but okay. So we feel good about that. I also want to just make sure we have a good spread of the seasons.
Yeah. That might be tough.
So let's put our season 6s up against each other.
Okay, what was your season 6?
Carlene's apartment.
Put that one goes on the list.
Okay.
I Enjoy Being a Girl resonated very specifically with me. But I think that is if we're thinking about giving people like a time capsule of this show or just like a capsule wardrobe of designing women, that's a good one to put in there.
Okay. Do we want to do Blame It on New Orleans?
Yes.
Okay. And then I want to give you the last pick.
I'm torn between How Great Thou Art and the crazy one.
Oh, the sanity hearing?
Yes, that one.
That's tough. They're both Bernice episodes, so I love that we're doing that. One's from season 4, the other's from season 2. We don't have a season 2 yet. I think I like kind of going off script. I feel like How Great Thou Art is so unique and unusual that I kind of want to include that one. What do you think?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Because I feel like the Bernice's one is an obvious choice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be obvious.
I don't want to be obvious.
I want to be obvious now.
We came up with.
Do you want to hear what went on the DVD? Is that of interest to you?
It is.
Okay, so the pilot went on, which that's the Ray Dawn.
It's an interesting choice. Okay.
I think so too. Killing All the Right People.
Sure.
Reservations for 8.
Yikes.
Okay. That is a fan favorite though.
Really?
We've talked about this before we'll get to it when we get to the finale. Not the finale, but the reunion too. But I think it's a generational thing that we've discussed before. Mm-hmm. So I think that one is just a little hard. I do like Julia's speech in that one.
Yeah. And
that still resonates, I think. But a lot of the other stuff around it just wasn't landing for me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's a big favorite. So I almost feel bad not really caring for it that much, but also We are all entitled to our opinion, especially in 2025.
Yep.
Big Hoss and Little Falsey. And then they shoot fat women, don't they?
Oh, that's a good one.
That was tough. That was
Yeah.
a really tough one. But the thing is like, I love the meaning behind that episode, but it's also really sad. And for me, it's not really a rewatchable. It's important,
Yeah.
but it makes me very sad.
Yeah.
And then I think we both have mixed feelings on the B plot, which was
Yes.
about the kid
Yes.
and the hunger thing.
Yeah, that was
So
sad too.
yeah, also not exactly uplifting, but like kind of a sweet moment, but yeah, I don't know. Okay. So we have on our DVD the beauty contest, Big Hoss and Little Fossey, How Great Thou Art, Blame It on New Orleans, and and Carlene's apartment. Yeah, I said that like I'm
I think
from
that's
Charleston.
an excellent list.
I think that's pretty good.
I think that's
We didn't
excellent.
fight club. Look how well we got along.
Look how well. It's almost like we're friends.
Look, I've had a lot of friends, and it doesn't mean you always agree on a list, okay? It's just
We will this time.
okay. Next up, let's talk favorite season. Do you want to kick this off, or you want me to? Don't care.
I can do it. I feel like I have a little bit of a hot take.
Oh, okay, go for it. Oh my gosh, are you about to see season 7 tops?
God, no, Salina. Season 6.
Okay.
When we recorded, I gave it a 4 out of 5, which I think actually may have been a little lower than I intended, especially when I looked back at my notes from the season and some of the episodes that I liked. There were some high points for the season, things that really, when I compare it to previous seasons, like lifted it up a little bit for me. Like it's the first season I didn't feel like we were watching an old show. It felt familiar and nostalgic, but not dated. So many shenanigans. This was just a more fun watch for me than older seasons had been. It was the first one in a while where I found myself excited to rewatch some episodes. Some of that may have been the reducing the pressure of the way we'd been recording, because like you said earlier, we had been watching every episode so many times, and this time we took some of that pressure off by taking a big picture look, but it just was more fun to watch. Bernice really exploded that season. She was so quirky and silly, and then it began the ramp up of her character before she got like angry and constantly raging. She was a little more like fun versus angry all the time. And some of my favorite episodes throughout the season, like I said earlier, I enjoy being a girl, and a scene from a mall was a really beautiful episode that I enjoyed watching. So I'm going to go with season 6, but I think like you said, that could be different every day. And you bringing up some of the episodes you brought up, I was like, shoot, those were really good episodes. And maybe
Well,
there
what
was
did we
more.
say? There was 163 episodes.
So many.
Yeah, try and balance that in your brain.
That's
you
a
know.
lot.
So this was again like much like the other things it's just like a tough exercise. So I went with a quality meets quantity strategy and counted the number of my favorite rewatchable episodes in a given season. So whichever season had the most would be my default favorite season. I kind of know that like the middle seasons are my favorite. So I honed in on like 3, 4, 5. Season 4 won out with 13 episodes, followed by 12 in season 3 and 10 in season 5. So, for the record, I just want to say, and I said it back then, but it's been probably 3 years now. Season 3 has a 5-episode run at the beginning that is absolutely killer, but it's so killer, it bears repeating. Episode 1 is Reservations for 12 plus Ursula. The Candidate in episode 2, episode 3, EP Phone Home, episode 4, Getting Married and Eating Dirt, and episode 5, Big Hoss and Little Falsey. I remember us watching that season, and it's very rare for me to get like that many and like love every single episode. I might like it. I'll have like thoughts, but I loved every single one of those episodes, and I thought they were so much fun. But season 4, that was my winner.
That's what I would have guessed for you.
How about we rank these from worst to first? The seasons.
So, you know what happened when I thought about this particular section is I first rated them just based on my recollections. Like, try to remember, and it's helpful being able to piece together memories of recording sessions so I could remember like where we were and what we were talking about. But then what I did after I did that is crosswalked them with the season ending score we gave them in our season finale. And I ranked them that first time based on recollection, almost exactly how I scored them when I did the actual scoring. We never officially rated season 1 in the same way we did other seasons, but I think I put it in the right place. So the lowest ranking one for me was season 1. And I think for me, it was the age of the season that was working against it. Plus, it was also just sort of trying to get into the mode of this show. It hadn't really gelled for me. Second was season 7. So I have 1, 7, 2, 5, 4, 3, and 6.
Okay. So I just, based on my exercise from the last one, I knew that plotted those top 3 positions. So I knew that it was going to be number 1 would be season 4, number 2 would be season 3, and number 3 would be season 5. Whew, that's twisty on the brain, isn't it?
Overlapped with season 3 as our second choice.
It was a goodie.
It was a good season.
And then for my other 3, I just kind of went on gut feeling the day I pulled it together. So, but I knew season 7 was going to be the worst for me.
Yeah.
But like that is tough. I think if season 7 hadn't have been what it just didn't land for me, I think season 1 would have taken that spot. So it's
we
not
were
that there's
aligned
not
there too.
Yeah, it's not that there's not some good ones in there. There absolutely are. It's just like so much of that season, we're just waiting for them to gel.
Yeah.
Even like I don't know, they're coming into their characters. They're like trying to fill each other out. And even like some of the pacing stuff, even in that pilot, or especially in that pilot episode, it's just not there yet.
Yeah, I agree.
And then my third spot is season 6.
Third worst.
Yes, although I don't like that framing.
Third from the bottom.
Don't worry, Salina, you're not the third worst. You're just third from the bottom.
From the bottom.
Well, you know what they say, started from the bottom, now we're here.
Yep.
Okay.
That is what they say.
All right, how about favorite character? And let me ask you, was it a little like picking your favorite kid?
It was.
Okay.
But I was able to do
tell us
it.
about it. Okay. If I was a parent, I'd have a different favorite kid every day.
We were at our Girl Scout meeting earlier this week, and one of the Girl Scouts asked me which one is my favorite kid. And one of the other moms was like, oh, no, you can't ask her that. Moms don't pick favorite kids. And I was like, I do. And I said, Landon's my favorite son, and Carolina's my favorite daughter. So just have 2, and it's super easy.
That's what Casey's mom says.
Super easy. If you have 3, you can pick a favorite middle child.
Right.
So,
and if you have 1, you can put all the pressure on.
Yeah. What feels good, doesn't it? Doesn't it, Salina?
Feels good.
So, in our season 7 episode about Carlene, I said she could end up being my favorite character by the time all was said and done.
Yeah.
However,
okay.
Revisiting notes from the older seasons, I realized that couldn't necessarily be true. I think I was having some recency bias.
Should we guess each other's?
Yeah.
Oh, this feels like now you've already eliminated someone for me. I think you're going to say Suzanne.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I'm wrong.
You are wrong.
Okay.
I think
Allison?
No. Wrong. You want to keep going?
No.
I think, unfortunately, they just didn't give us enough in season 7 to solidify her spot as my favorite character.
Yeah.
So I eliminated her.
Okay.
So the next obvious one for me was Bernice.
Yeah.
So I loved her sense of humor. The physical comedy Alice Ghostly gave us was brilliant. And they always gave her really sharp writing.
I like this teasing method you're doing.
It's, I got to build, Salina. We got to make this a thing. But, in the end, all told, I think Anthony was my favorite character.
Okay.
I think watching the Designing Women reunion might have solidified it for me, which
Oh,
I
yeah.
know it may not be super fair because it's not about his character. It was about like who Meshack Taylor was. But I think throughout the series, we saw that of all the women, he almost was the truest friend. Do you know? Like, he always was there. He always was a gentleman. He always did the nonsense. He did the leg waxing. He did the carrying the heavy things and throwing his back out. He showed up every time they asked him to. He balanced all the things. He was a brilliant partner in the business. He was just brilliant. And then I think when, again, I don't want to spoily anything from Extra Sugar this week, but when you hear about who he was behind the scenes to the women on the show, he just is great. He was a constant throughout the series, and I just think he was wonderful. I think they always could have done more with him, but I definitely think we were left wanting more from Anthony, which I think is a good place to be in for a character. So I went with Anthony today. Ask me again tomorrow.
I love it. Okay.
What about
All right.
you?
Well,
Are you going to tease too?
oh yeah.
Slow and steady.
I have some upfront thoughts, but do you want to take a guess about who mine
Mary
is gonna
Jo.
be? Okay. So we're just bad at this game.
Julia.
Oh, but you're gonna keep going.
Yes.
Okay.
Bernice.
Just you shush.
JD.
You just shush it. Well, that would have been a pick, right? That would have been a pick. So I should be clear that I do really love every single one of these characters. I have for many, many, many years. And this is a show that I've watched since I was a little girl. There are also aspects of every character that drive me a little crazy, which I think speaks to the caliber of LBT and then later Pam Norris's writing, because the characters are lovely and they are flawed, just like real people. And I think that makes them more endearing. But at the end of the day, I'm going with Bernice. If I could have a tie, I would have also had Anthony. So,
Oh, St. Page City, baby, because
that's
Bernice was
right.
my second.
I'm saying so, but for some
Yes.
reason, I feel it was important to choose a choice, and so Bernice it is. And I
Not
would
me.
also
I
say
never feel like it's important to choose a choice.
no. And I think that also kind of building off of what you said about the reunion, Alice Ghostly at that. If you didn't fall in love with her from that, I don't know what's wrong with you, to be honest.
Lovely.
But so, here's what we knew. We knew that if Bernice showed up, it was going to be a good one. And that remains so from season 1 to season 7. She's funny. She's fun, feisty, a little belligerent sometimes. And people's underestimation of her made those moments when she was firing on all cylinders all the more shiny and all the more wonderful. You've already talked about the classic example, which is How Great Thou Art, when she really just lays it all down on the line, and she just shows that preacher who's boss. But she gave people a run for their money on a regular basis. At the end of the day, she is all heart, our silly, sometimes senseless, but always charismatic, designing women matriarch, Bernice Clifton. All hail the queen. And her king, Anthony.
Anthony. The king and queen. I love that we chose those two.
Yeah, I see social media and Instagram. Fix yourself so I can pull audio again. Fix yourself. Anyways, I digress. We also wanted to talk about best character arcs. So with 7 seasons, we've seen a lot of characters grow and change, some a little, some a lot. Who do you think had the best character arc over the course of the series?
Uh-oh. I have 3.
Oh, well, that's okay. I have 2.
Okay. Mary Jo, I talked about this so many times. Her arc from a big old divorcee mom blob to a strong independent woman considering voluntarily becoming a single mom. That was just such growth over the seasons. And we also got to see in season 7, when she went off on Julia, I said this was the full circle completion moment of her story arc. It was, for all the women, in my opinion, the most complete story arc.
Okay. So I also have Mary Jo, and for all the same reasons. I think the only thing is, like, at the end, her being strong enough to take on Julia after not being strong enough to do, and she took her on all season.
Yeah,
You
right.
know? Like from her letting, I think about like JD's ex-wife and the way that she treated her in that first season. Like what a difference.
Yeah.
What a difference 7 years can make. And I guess we can all hope that maybe 7 years will make a difference for the better, you
For the
know?
better, for sure.
Yeah. And then I'll go ahead and just say that my other one was Anthony.
Yeah.
So is he also on your list?
He is. His
Okay.
arc from ex-con to a college boy with a wife, again, close to full circle. I think it would have come full circle if we had actually seen him and Etienne have children,
Right.
only
Sure.
because they talked about that, and it would have closed that loop.
Also, I think that would have. I wouldn't have wanted to spend like every episode with children, but I think we could have gotten some really funny things from that experience.
They would have
in the
had cute
beginning.
kids.
Yeah. Plus, like Anthony sleepless, I think would have been really funny.
Oh,
like,
you're
freaking
right.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I think for me, he's the quintessential pull yourself up by your bootstraps story. And for me, he's the most obvious choice. So,
My last one's maybe a little less obvious, but it was Bernice's arc from being Suzanne and Julia's mom, Perky's crazy friend, to being Suzanne, Julia, Mary Jo, Anthony, and Charlene's crazy friend.
yeah, that's fair.
she got to make friends all across the board, and we got to see all of that, which was brilliant. So that was my
love
last one.
That's wonderful. We're gonna have to do it. We're gonna have to do biggest disappointments.
Yeah.
We didn't want. Maybe we should have started with this.
Yeah.
Let's bring it down right at the end. But I think it's only fair to like it. You can't have all winners, y'all. You just can't. So if you were going to talk about biggest disappointments across the series, what rises to the top for you?
I think I probably have two here. The first one, again, and I mentioned this a couple minutes ago, was short shrifting Carlene in season 7. She had so much potential as a character. She could have made my favorite characters list. She
could have been on your list.
She could have been on Nikki's list, and that should have been enough for everybody. She was just so cute and adorable and funny, and she had the potential to have a Mary Jo like arc. And they just short shrifted her too much, and that was a huge disappointment to me.
And a huge mistake.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, my number one disappointment was, and hopefully I'm not snatching anything from you, and I apologize. But losing Jean Smart and Delta Burke.
You snatched it from me, and I have nothing more.
The grips of victory. Is that what that is?
I don't know.
Okay.
The grips of something. But have at it.
Well, we lose them at the same time. It's just not ideal. We've discussed it. Fans still not over it, you know. Although I'm just going to say on the other side, we do that. We never meet Carlene. We
That's
don't.
right.
We don't get this. We never meet BJ. So, I mean, what's that? Life is a series of gives and takes. I forget. What's your other? Oh, that was
that was it.
two.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm
I
sorry.
think no, it's totally okay. I think the other thing that makes that one tough for where we are, I can't speak to how it was for people who watch the show in real time, but all the behind the scenes stuff that was going on, we talked about that as we transitioned into the new seasons without them. And it's just so sad to hear all that going on, to know what's going on in the background, to know why some of those shifts happened. And it just adds a little bit of a heaviness to it all.
Well, and I'm very excited to talk about the reunion because it's the most insight that I think we'll ever get.
Yeah.
And we get it 12 years later. So I think we will have some time to unpack that one a little bit further. Come back on Thursday. And in my other two disappointments were season 7 on the whole. Sorry, it was just really disappointing for me after watching 6 seasons that I really enjoyed. I watched it one time, season 7. I don't think I'll ever watch it again.
Yeah.
I've never done that with another season. And then my last thing was the series finale. We talked about that extensively.
My gosh, that makes total sense.
Yeah, we talked about that extensively. So I'll just say this show, the fans and the actors, the crew, everyone deserved a better end than that.
I agree.
So That was a mid-season slump episode if there ever was one.
Yeah.
So I wanted more for our women. I wanted more for our Anthony, but that's okay. We can also maybe get a little bit of justice in the reunion.
Maybe.
We'll see. Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? It'll be a surprise.
Who knows?
Who watched it? Did anybody watch it? Quick, get over here.
Well, it's not very easy to get.
Oh, really? I just Googled it.
Well, me too.
I found it on some random website.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can cue that up for people too. I watched it across 6 parts on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. It was 2 parts where I found it. But it was interspersed with commercials. I don't know if you had to watch commercials. That was
I would have liked
unenjoyable.
watching a 2003 commercial. And
It wasn't
just seeing the
2003
difference.
commercials. They were current commercials.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
It was rough sauce.
I don't want to watch that.
Yeah, well, we're done.
Well,
It feels like this is a little bit anticlimactic, but I think I made my peace with the end of this series when we went from season 5 into season 6 because we were breaking up the band, you know? And so we switched up our format a little bit too. So I think I went into like my emotional, I think when you and I were talking at some point on one episode recently where you're like, how are you feeling about it? Does it feel sad or whatever? And I was like, oh, I guess we're almost done. But I think in my mind, we had just been done so long ago. So it feels a little anticlimactic. But the reunion, I do think, brings a little bit of an emotional element. But it was fun to revisit all my old notes, to think about how far we've grown since we started recording, and to think about all we've been through with the Designing Women. So thank you for sharing all those numbers at the top. That was a real kick in the pants.
insightful. So good.
So thank you everyone for joining along with us. We're going to take a couple weeks off, but we're going to be back. I meant to fact check this. April 14th is when we're coming back.
Sure.
We're going to release a special episode diving into the short-lived series Women of the House, bringing Suzanne Sugarbaker back to the small screen. In the meantime, we'd love everyone to follow along with us, engage, see what Salina comes up with on Instagram and Facebook to promote this episode.
Who knows?
At Sweet Tea and TV. We're on TikTok at Sweet Tea TV Pod. Fun fact, we have 90 some odd subscribers on YouTube.
Oh, I think we went up. I think we're 98 now.
Oh my gosh. 98 at Sweet Tea TV 7371. It's that username that draws people in. It's so easy for them to find.
Yeah.
You can email us, sweetteatvpod@gmail.com. And especially email us if you have ideas for future seasons of Sweet Tea and TV. We're trying to figure out where to go next. It's been a topic of discussion for, what would you say, Salina, about 4 years?
Something like that. We're like, we'll get it figured out. It's no problem. We'll have this. I'll have this anytime.
Any minute now.
We'll also, if you have thoughts on wanting to be our producer, give us a ring. You like to do some social media, this will all be free.
Our website is www.sweetteatv.com. You can tell your friends and family about us, or rate and review the podcast wherever you listen if you're looking for ways to support us. And then you can also visit the Support Us tab on our webpage. And then we've just let this cat right out of the bag like 14 times that Thursday's Extra Sugar is going to be about the 2003 Lifetime reunion, where the original cast and LBT sit down for the first time since Delta and Jean departed the series in 1991.
So rate us.
And review. And review.
And review.
Good ratings and reviews.
Good ratings. Please, good ratings. That's very helpful. If you don't like the show, just move along. That's understandable, but like, just move along.
Just keep going. Don't ruin our lives.
We already have low self-esteem.
Don't ruin our lives, and we won't ruin yours.
Don't kick us while we're down and our pants are falling around our ankles. All right, well.
I was going to say AKA Tuesday for Salina.
Well, do I know what this means? Are we going to see him around the bend? I don't know what's happening.
We're going to see him around the bend, Salina.
Oh, bye.
Bye.